My mom has a question for you.
Mario, are you a Padre fan?
Or a Dodger fan.
After Big Ed would establish himself as one of the most popular 90-Day Fiancé stars of all time thanks to his tumultuous relationship with Rose.
STD, which is, I think it's a blood test, and they just test to see if you have like sexually transmitted disease.
After Big Ed would find himself the victim of his own popularity once fans began to point out his obvious shortcomings.
So I have been dyeing my hair. I found out that mayonnaise makes it smoother and less dry.
After Big Ed would still have over 464,000 followers on Instagram, 1 million followers on TikTok, as well as 44,000 subscribers on YouTube at the time of this recording. It hasn't taken long for 90 Day Fiancé to become one of TLC's flagship series. The show is currently on its 8th season and nearly as popular as ever thanks in large part to the man whose small stature meshes unbelievably with his larger-than-life persona. I am of course talking about none other than Big Ed. Few reality stars have skyrocketed to fame quicker than Big Ed Brown. After his first appearance on 90 Day Fiancé before the 90 days, viewers couldn't get enough of this car wreck of a relationship with Rose as he did his best to both woo her and sabotage himself at every turn. Like getting himself a vasectomy despite the fact that Rose wanted to have more kids.
Because there's about a 3-inch incision that they make. They pretty much open up your sac. Yeah.
I want to die.
Since that season wrapped production, Ed has continued to capitalize off his image by returning to the series that made him famous as a cast member for our 90 Days The Single Life, where he has opened up about his newest relationship with a woman named Liz. But will this relationship succeed after his former attempts have failed so spectacularly? And what's going on with these accusations of sexual harassment from Ed's past? Stay tuned to find out. Hey, what's poppin' guys? It's your boy Marlon Palmer. Recent drops in the series have included looks at CM Punk and FPS Russia. Since the show works off request, don't forget to leave us some ideas with who you guys want to see next. Flood the comment section and I'll catch you guys after the intro. Big Ed was born Edward Allen Brown on April 28, 1965. In his regular everyday life before he became a reality star, Ed earned himself a master's degree from the New School of Architecture and Design and worked as a professional photographer specializing in fashion, wedding, studio, and advertising photography. Ed was born with a rare genetic disorder known as Klippel-Feil syndrome, or KFS, which is a condition that affects the development of bones in the spine. Because of this condition, Ed has always been short of stature, and his stunted neck in particular has always made him a subject of ridicule.
When I was in grade school, it really hurt me. It stopped me from being who I was. But I realized later on in life that this is just who you were.
No, seriously, he has less neck than Benzino. That is a feat, am I right?
That one there was a violation. Personally, I wouldn't have it.
Ed set out to make a big impression on the world by joining the TLC series 90 Day Fiancé before the 90 Days, a spin-off series that followed couples who had only ever met online and were coming together for the first time in front of the cameras. Another show just like Temptation Island that I'm like, why? Why?
Why not?
At the time, Ed had just entered into a relationship with a woman named Rose from the Philippines, and as Ed and Rose's story unfolded, audiences discovered that they loved to hate this brash San Diego native who more often than not wound up putting his own foot in his mouth, which, by the way, is still a feat, no matter how short he is.
Yeah, I don't like leg hair. It's gross.
Whether it was asking Rose to take an STD test, being rude to her underprivileged family in the Philippines, or showing a complete lack of interest in her young son Prince, it was clear from early on that true love was never really in the cards for these two. When the series finally wrapped, Big Ed was once more on his own, but things were about to get a whole lot worse. After the end of his first run on 90 Day Fiancé, Big Ed was a celebrity. There's no denying that. But we should know by now that there's the good kind of celebrity where people respect you for your talents and gifts, and then there's the bad kind of celebrity where people only talk about you because of everything they perceive that's wrong with you. Big Ed definitely fell into that latter camp, and things only escalated in that sense after a woman that Big Ed used to work with came forward and accused him of sexual harassment. Back in April of 2020, a woman with the username Lord on TikTok came forward with a series of videos accusing Ed of inappropriate behavior. She claimed that she was harassed by Ed for about 9 months and eventually wound up in the hospital from an incident that transpired with him about 4 years prior to Ed first appearing on TLC. Due to her having signed what she says was an NDA, Lord has kept further details about this event to herself, while Big Ed hasn't addressed the accusations at all. Despite these claims against him, Big Ed would still go on to appear in a new season of 90 Day Fiancé. This time, he joined the cast of the spin-off series The Single Life and introduced the world to his newest girlfriend Liz. I mean, for a guy, good for you. I'm gonna just leave it at that. Good for you, sir. Liz is 27 years younger than Big Ed, and he first met her at his favorite restaurant in San Diego, where she works as a manager. Eventually, Ed plucked up the courage to ask her to be his +1 to a wedding. Believe it or not, the date went pretty spectacularly, according to Ed, and before he knew it, he was finding himself having the night of his life once they got back to the hotel room.
Did you guys have sex?
Okay, so yeah, I mean, we made love all night.
But regardless of how great a time Ed clearly had, Liz didn't give quite as glowing a review, suggesting that she even had to teach Ed how to kiss. God damn.
Is he a good kisser?
I had to teach him how to kiss. So I feel like I have to train him to do a lot of things.
I don't know about you guys, but that doesn't exactly sound like the makings of a winning formula for romantic chemistry to me. And before the single life would finish its season, rumors already began to circulate that Ed and Liz were through. Surprise, surprise. Ed has said that it was his own excitement at being in the relationship that ultimately worked against him. He pushed Liz to take several big steps before she was ready, and he stopped listening to her, which brought the relationship to a premature close.
We moved way too fast. Like she didn't have a chance. Our relationship didn't have a chance.
After yet another failure, Ed returned home to San Diego and over the past few months has actually taken some tangible steps towards self-improvement. For one thing, he had his mom move in with him after she was hit by a car and required back surgery last year. Since Ed's brothers and sisters are all scattered across the country, Ed said it was his responsibility to step up and help take care of her. And sure, having someone around who helps with the laundry and can fix a nice home-cooked meal is definitely a bonus. But nothing beats having an extra pair of hands when you need help shaving your own back. Because that's just what moms do.
I don't know where Ed got that idea. I don't know why you're taking off your hair. You're gonna look like a lady instead of a guy.
Absolute violation.
Beyond his great grooming innovations, Big Ed is going to great lengths to change himself in other ways these days. That's right, Big Ed has begun to crack down on both his physical and mental health by going to the gym and seeing a therapist regularly. With the help of a professional MMA boxer, Big Ed has gone from an internet meme to an internet dream? Okay, maybe that's a bit of an exaggeration, but there's no doubt he's looking pretty good. All in all, Ed has lost 21 pounds by giving up things like bread, sugar, and sweets. But if you know anything about Big Ed, then you know that he'll never, ever give up his Malibek.
We will sell no wine until it's time.
As for the rest of his story, like whether or not his physical and mental transformation will finally have Big Ed finally finding true love, well, that's a story for another time and another place. After all, this is Where Are They Now, and you're all caught up with the recent history of Big Ed. Be sure to let us know your thoughts in the comments down below. Follow us on Instagram at Before They're Famous to vote on what's next, and I'll catch you guys in the next video. Bye.